All right, first things first. It's been a minute since I did a video, so a lot of you guys know me for my 20 SMA 2 candle strategy. Take the entry on the second candle on the daily time frame, only daily time frame only. All right, so I've been asked to do another strategy. This works for me as well. This is much more simplified because the biggest thing with the the 20 SMA 2 candle entry is that sometimes it gets you in a little bit late, and that's more for a longer term strategy. When you have your capital built up, you can let things ride and run it into a position as well. So this is more getting you in a little bit earlier. It's the same concept almost. So I'm just going over this strategy. I'm not going to get too far into detail unless you join my Discord. My Discord is free. Make sure you click the link down below. All right, so let's go over here and let's move into it. All right, so the biggest thing is I know one of my students asked me about this. They've been trading for 5 years and they're trying to trade the 1 minute time frame. So we're gonna just glaze over this. So a lot of the time is trading, overtrading, lower time frame noise, multiple strategies, and exhaustions. And if your strategy works for you, then by all means keep doing it. But if not, this is another plan for you to work on. All right, the solutions is we only trade weekly high and low breakouts. That's all we do. All right, so here's an example. You have a range, break, and entry. All right, so the biggest thing is a lot of times on the daily time frame, you don't have as much as noise as the lower time frames. And this is meant for the guys who have 9 to 5s. If you have a 9 to 5 and you can't be on the charts all day, I know that's all it's preached about on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. But if you have a job, it's kind of hard to do those lower time frames. So this is another strategy to help you out. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, it shows across the markets. I've seen it and I've used it work in CFDs. Only crypto I've worked on is I've traded was Bitcoin, but the rest of it is FX. Now I have not tried this strategy on a lower time frame on futures. All right, so please do not get my comments and ask me if it works on futures. This is just a daily time frame strategy. All right, a good versus a bad week. You have a strong breakout and you have a fake out. Just remember, every trade does not win. All right, sometimes you get that nice little breakout, and you can see right here, if you can see it, this was not a strong breakout. All right, so this trade should not have been taken. All right, it happens sometimes. All right, so the rules is 1 trade per setup. All right, mark your weekly levels, wait for a break, enter 2 to 1. You can go from 1.1 to 1.5. All right, move your stop loss into play, stop loss up to break even, then take some money off the table. Let it run to 2.1. All right. That's what we're going to do right now. That's what we're going to do. All right. The mindset is we don't need more trades. You need better trades. All right. You need better trades. All right. Trading the 1 minute or whatever the case may be, 5 minute, 1 minute is like trying to predict every step someone takes. Trading the daily is like seeing where they actually walk into. All right. Let's move on. All right. So with GJ, this is one of the cleanest charts we got this week. Price made a strong move up, and now it's sitting under the previous week high. So right now, of course, this is Sunday. The market's just open, so it's basically not moving, so it's consolidating. For me, this is simple. If we get a clean break above that level, I'm looking for a continuation to the upside. No guessing, no early entries. We just waiting for a break, and that's on GJ. And you can see right here, it does look like we're going to get a continuation. Don't quote me on it, but as you can see, we had a nice little upswing around the first part of April. Definitely had some good money sitting right here. And now we did an up move, and then basically we consolidating. So basically I'm waiting for it to break up. Once we get a strong move, when we talking about like one of these candle strong move, all right? And then we're going to just, that's the main setup we're looking for this week. Let's move on to the next one. All right, CADJPY. This is the same type of setup pretty much. A strong push up to the highs, and now it's holding tight right here. And that tells me buyers, right now this tells me buyers are still in control. So again, I'm watching for a clean break from the previous week high for continuation, similar to the same structure as GJ. All right, so, and the biggest thing is if we have to watch out for the previous month high right here, previous month high right here. But if we get a strong up move, you know, one of these nice little candles right here, we don't want one of these wicky candles, what I call them, you know what I'm saying? So we get that nice up move and a little more consolidation range, and then the up move here, we're going to float in for the continuation. All right, let's move on. All right, AUDJPY is also at its highs. But this one is a little more choppy right now, all right, because we have it's floating on the previous month high, and it's in between the previous week high and the previous week low. All right, so this is like more of a secondary setup. The first two were my main setups that I'm looking for, and this is more of a secondary setup. It's still worth watching, I'm going to be honest, but it's not as clean as GJ and CJ. All right, CADJPY. So if it breaks clean, I'll pay attention. But this is not my first option as far as this goes. All right, and so here's our discipline action for the week. You know, we have NAS 100. Again, right now, it's in no man's land. All right, so the best move right here was actually around April, early April. Had a nice upswing right here. Right now, we had a little bit of sideways movement for a day or so, and on Friday we ended up with a good push. So if you were trading the lower time frames, which I don't, but if you do, congratulations, you made some. You probably made some profit this week. All right, so already it's made a straight move, and it's not at its clean level right now. So really, there's no edge here because this is no man's land. If you go all the way up, it's nothing here. All right, so be careful with this one. I'm not chasing price right here, so if it breaks, I might hold off on this one and not trade this one. But if it pullbacks to the level later on in the week, and I'll reassess. But for now, I'm leaving it alone. All right, so what I am not trading. Let me go over here to my pairs I am not trading. All right, let me go to this one. All right, so we have, all the USD pairs, like, EU, pound dollar, they're not clean right now. All right, so the move was right here, early April. A lot of the moves happened in early April, but now we have liquidity up here was grabbed. It came back down. So they're just not clean right now. I'm not forcing trades. So if there's no setup here, simple as that, I'm not taking it. All right, because right now, as long as it's in between here, that is no man's land. Let's look at See, right here, we have the previous month high, previous month's low. And so the previous week high and the previous week low is floating in between here. All right. So that's not to say that we couldn't get a nice little breakout here in continuation up. That's the biggest thing. So my game plan is simple. My game plan is simple for the week. I'm looking at GJ and CJ and AJ. And again, Nas, we're not really floating on Nas unless we see a nice retracement. It's too far up at this point. All right, the move should have been made early April. All right, my plan for this week is simple. I'm going to let price come to me. So if these levels break, I'll trade it. If they don't, I sit on my hands. You basically don't need a lot of trades to win. You just need the right ones. All right, and that's been the problem with a lot of guys who trying to 9-to-5 trade. Not 9-to-5 trade, have a job and still trying to trade, with a 9-to-5. It's kind of hard to. You only got, that's why I preach to you guys on the daily time frame. You only have to check it once a day. Go through there every week. Put your previous, in the beginning of the month, put your previous month high, previous month's low, and each week you put your previous month week, pretty much previous week low. All right, and then just let the price come to you. Once it breaks out, you good to go. All right, risk properly and be disciplined. All right. So I'll update the trades during the week and with the trades I have and how everything's playing out. If you're trading this week, drop a comment. Let me know what you're watching. Again, we're gonna stay patient and we're gonna stay disciplined. You guys have a good week.